One of the frequencies that seems to be very prevalent on the planet is fear. What does that do to people's health?
It leaves big chunks out, almost like it causes them to be stagnant, not to be able to move forward. Right now, I just did Kamala Harris's voice, and she has a great big spot about information and the truth of information and the truth of words. That's all missing from her chart. So whatever she is saying, she has hidden agendas, and she's certainly not sharing the truth.
Hi, welcome to Free Range with Gail of Gaia. On today's program, Gail welcomes Sharry Edwards, pioneer in bioacoustic technology. You're going to love this program. Please join Gail as she welcomes Sharry Edwards to the program.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. And I have with me today our most interesting guest and healer, and someone who is directly involved, in my opinion, in the future of medicine. And it's all based on frequency. Her name is Sharry Edwards, and she has the Bioacoustic Institute. Is that correct? And she has special qualities that we all may have had at one time, but she came onto the planet with them. And because of it, she is sharing that knowledge with others. And I think you will find her information absolutely fascinating. She offers free classes. She has many things. So Sharry, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today.
Well, that was a great introduction. Thank you. And it's great to be here. I don't know how I got here. I just kind of have an idea. We've got lights going on and off here. Can you see them?
Yeah, a little bit, but that's okay.
It's okay. Sorry. You don't know if it's electricity or what. Let me see if I can turn them off.
Yeah, well, maybe the fluorescent light is going out or something of that nature. Yeah. Okay, that's better. We can see you fine too.
Okay, I think I came on the planet with a talent, and there's many things to confirm that. My ears have an apparatus called a sacculus that is active in dolphins, but not in humans. And I had a near-death drowning when I was very young, and I think that activated that apparatus, and it made it so that I can hear sounds coming out of people's ears. And I used to work in the speech and hearing department at the university, and I tried to ask them, what is that? And they said, oh, Sharry, we know you're a little weird. Don't talk about that. But then I found Johns Hopkins University really was studying the sound coming out of the ear. And we did some studies on it. And sure enough, the sound coming out of your ear, called an otoacoustic emission, is in your voice 100% of the time as an indicator out of the ear. With Wendell Brown's the guy's name. He could tell about the health of an animal by recording this sound from the ear. So I got the idea, maybe the sounds I'm hearing are about people's health. And sure enough, it was about their personality, their health. So the last 30 some years we've been in business, since 91, we've been able to map what these frequencies mean that's coming from your ear. And I have this idea that as a frequency comes from your ear, and it sort of looks like a waveform, and there's frequencies coming out of your mouth, and when they hit this waveform, that's what gives us meaning to words and to nuance of communication.
Wow, that's absolutely fascinating. When the frequency, one of the frequencies that seems to be very prevalent on the planet is fear. What does that do to people's health?
It leaves big chunks out, almost like it causes them to be stagnant, not to be able to move forward. Right now, I just did Kamala Harris's voice, and she has a great big spot about information and the truth of information and the truth of words. That's all missing from her chart. So whatever she is saying, she has hidden agendas, and she's certainly not sharing the truth.
Wow. And that's something about this. Is it Nano-Voice that is able
Nano-Voice.
to tell us about that and how that works?
Well, one of my undergraduate degrees is in interpersonal communication, and we needed a senior project to graduate. So I noticed people's words and the nuance of their words really was telling me a lot about them. Were they telling the truth? Were they trying to manipulate me? That's all the notes of D. And so I wrote a computer program in 1982 called Nano-Voice, and we gave it away to the public, and we tested it. We said, okay, give us 30 seconds of your voice. I'll give you a printout of what the computer thinks it needs, and you tell me whether that's true or not, or ask a friend if it's true, because a lot of people denied things that were kind of negative, but their friend would say, yeah, that's absolutely true. So we put that out as the Nano-Voice after we had tested about 6,000 people. We gave it away to the public until a doctor, a female doctor, got in touch with me, and she said, you're going to change this program. It says on the front page that it's free, that you think people ought to be able to look at their own motivations without all the oughts and shoulds. And if you're stupid enough to give this away, I'm smart enough to sell it. And she and her attorney tried to pressure me into changing it and costing money. We gave it away for like 20 years at least. Now it's up on our website, our online workstation, which is Sound Health Portal. It's right on the front page, and people can go in and talk to it and say, okay, do I want to go out with this person? Is this the best direction for my life? And it will give you a pattern and a printout. They can also buy it for their computer and have it as a business. We have one that helps them find the perfect mate, the perfect job, how to put together committees. Your voice contains the secret of what's real for you without all of the garbage that people try to throw on top of you.
Oh my gosh, that's absolutely fascinating. And it just demonstrates one of the biggest problems we have today is healthcare for profit.
Yes.
It's practically ingrained into the medical profession, the financial incentives to give the jab, to give prescriptions, any number of things, which usually make the problem worse.
We just did a project with coronavirus. And remember when Trump had corona and he went on hydroxychloroquine and got over it?
Yes.
Then they made hydroxychloroquine illegal and wouldn't allow doctors to provide it. Now there's ivermectin. I just did a project, and we will post this and send it to you, of all the spike proteins that are making people sick and how they're going to manipulate people by withholding the spike protein antidotes. Ivermectin is one of the spike protein antidotes. So if you do get COVID, you get any kind of ivermectin is better than hydroxychloroquine. But they had to make those illegal because it wouldn't be allowed to make a vaccine unless there was no cure any other way. So they totally suckered people into taking this shot because they made a law that the cure was bad. With hydroxychloroquine, had been on the market for 50 years for malaria. So that's pure manipulation. I'm going to take the cure away from the people and say there is no cure, so I can make a vaccine, so I can scare everybody into getting it. And in the vaccine, I'm going to put something that I can use to control people. And that's what they've done.
And that's exactly what they've done. And they actually have lied about the fact that it's really not a vaccine because it doesn't fit the legal profile of a vaccine in the first place. We probably won't be able to put this up on YouTube because of the terminology we're using, but that's okay. It's important to be able to speak the truth and let people know the truth, and the censorship has got to stop.
The enemy causes you not to have access to the truth. So anybody who's withholding information to you, they are your enemy. In 2019, in December, we decoded the original virus 2 that this came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell by the math that this was a man-made virus or a problem, pathogen. The math,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, the math was just too perfect. We had been following this for about 10 years. And the last one we followed was Gardasil. And we could show that Gardasil was really an infertility vaccine. And we have so many people in a clinic now who are infertile, and we can trace it back to Gardasil. And
That's
so
absolutely
we're looking
criminal. That we're on a genocide program right now. Depopulation, infertility is part of their game. Genocide is part of their game. It's absolutely horrific, and now we're having difficulty getting the truth out there so that people can take charge of their health. Because it's unfortunate that we have healthcare so-called professionals that are more about the money than about the healing.
Well, look at all of America, at least. It's about the money, not about people's health. We had an incident here that we had helped some local people get over a pathogen. And I went to the local hospital. I said, look what we can do. And he said, wait a minute, you're trying to tell me how to lose money for my stockholders? I said, hospitals have stockholders that demand that you make money. Wrong door. And so I backed out and didn't go near him anymore. But I have a warning. We have written 5 articles about Corona and what's going on. And in those 5 articles, we have taught people how to create a mathematical antidote. And when you look at the spike proteins that are causing this sickness and blood clots, the antidote is glyphosate. So mathematically, people out there, if
the antidote is glyphosate?
Yes. So if you give somebody the antidote mathematically, and we've shown people how to do this, you're going to be giving people glyphosate. So wait until we get this next article out, which will be out this week, and we'll put it up on the Sound Health Options site to show people how to not give glyphosate. I believe this started years ago with vaccines, glyphosate. This is an issue to keep people sick, and it's too pat not to be man-made.
Well, glyphosate, the reason that concerns me is in Roundup, and it's a problem as far as genetically modified foods go. And that whole scenario came forward. I have a nutrition background, so that was very disturbing to me from the very beginning, but I couldn't get anybody to listen to me because I was a conspiracy theorist about the negative effects of genetically modified foods. Now, I'm a little bit confused because how can glyphosate reverse the problem?
It can't. It makes it worse.
Oh, okay. That's what I needed to clarify that because for some reason I didn't hear it correctly. Because I've talked to Stephanie Sinoff before, and I believe you know her as well.
Yes.
And she, the problems that have been created since that's been, introduced into agriculture and so on are unbelievable. And it substitutes for glycine in the body.
And
so the amino acid glycine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps the body detox. That's what keeps cellular signaling to the muscles, that the muscles become weak. Let's explain to people that glyphosate is an herbicide.
Yes.
And they spray it on crops to keep the weeds down. But what they don't tell you is that when they're going to harvest the crop, they spray it again to get rid of the green, and they spray it on the fruits that they're harvesting.
And it's heavily in wheat because they use it to desiccate the wheat after it's already, they're getting ready to harvest it. So the breads and cereals that we consume are just saturated with that poison. And that's why people end up with things like gluten issues. It's really a glyphosate issue more than anything else.
They're even finding it in baby food.
Yes. And the jab. So
absolutely. Well, here's the connection between the two. When they give you the shot, the spike protein it creates is the mathematical antidote to glyphosate. They're not trying to make you more well. They're trying to keep you from mathematically creating an antidote for the spike proteins. And that's how they're going to control this. There's 37 spike proteins. Some of them are redundant. There were more than that, but I decoded them. So if we find out that you're poisoned with marijuana, we can make an antidote, and it's a pattern. There's more than just getting the frequency for something. You have to know the pattern to give it back to the body. And the body sees marijuana as a toxin. And what it prevents from working is progesterone, because that's its antidote.
That confuses me a little bit, because what about CBDs? I thought they were therapeutic and healing. So is there something that they're putting on the cannabis or marijuana, whatever you want to call it, that is adding to its toxicity? Or is it?
It's a different fraction. It's only one. The CBD is only one fraction of the complete marijuana.
Okay.
But look at progesterone and marijuana. If you are low on progesterone, you can't get pregnant very well. You have the munchies all the time. It's the same symptoms as coming down from marijuana. So mathematically, the body has a toxin that it's trying to treat as something natural. I don't think there's anything wrong with CBDs or marijuana at all. It's how you treat them that makes the difference. What you do with them that makes the difference. I should say it that way. The body is a great big mathematical matrix, just like in the Matrix, the movie. That's true. We just have decoded the math. And that's what we're sharing with people in our articles, on our workstation, and in our classes. We're sharing all of this with people so they have a right to have a dominion over their own health. That, to me, is a God-given right, an intrinsic right, and the government should not control it. So that's what we're trying to do, break the sound barriers of disease. So if we need to get off the planet, we don't have to take all this medication with us. We take a little machine. Somebody gets a cold, we punch in the numbers for the common cold, give them the frequencies. The brain is your central processing unit. It's run by math. If you need to crook your finger, your brain has the thought, I don't know where that comes from, and it sends the signal to the finger to move. What we have found, if we give a signal to the finger, it'll send it back to the brain and support it. And we've done that with tetraplegics in helping them move and get up and running again.
Wow, that's absolutely fascinating. What about, there was a talk at one point with Sarah Westall's site about the God gene. I'd like to bring that up because that's a very important aspect, because I think part of what's happening now with the jab is they are shutting that gene down as best they can.
I have seen a lot of that on the internet, that people say, I can't feel my spiritualness anymore. My God gene is gone. Well, a guy by the name of Hammer, 1M, can't remember his first name, maybe it's Peter. He wrote this idea about the God gene, and the God gene helps control dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, all the things that make our body feel good and animated. Well, we've decoded the God gene, and we have the frequencies for it for people to reactivate or manifest the God gene. It's really a VMAT2 gene is what it relates to. And that's on one of the maps that we sent you. We use Amy Yasko's metabolic map, and that's one of the first things we do for everybody.
Oh, okay.
We run them through that map, and we see where their trouble is, because the math of your body, what's there and what isn't there, will tell us what system is going down. For instance, if your doctor says to you, you don't have enough calcium, we look 16 layers deep for calcium to see what system of the body is out of calcium. And it's all math. You are a mathematical robot, and people don't like to hear that. But James Oates, who is a theoretical physicist out of Brown, he and his students did a study on plants, and they found DNA code in plants that is a correction code for DNA in humans. He is into supersymmetry, if you've read any of his stuff. His first name is Sigmund James. It's Gates, not Oates, sorry, Gates. And I'm pretty sure he's from Brown, or still is. I'll send you, one of the
That's
papers,
fascinating.
one of the papers we sent
That brought
you,
something to me. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I got to remember this question. I got to ask you. Okay.
we sent you a paper about we are very math-based robots because we've been able to do things like decode the muscles in the eye and give you the frequency to support it if it goes low, and reverse macular degeneration, totally incurable. And we've done it many times.
And you've cured it.
Well, the
That's
body's
awesome.
has cured it based
The
on
body
what we
does,
provide.
based on the frequency, the tools that the body needs to bring it back to where it should be.
Yes.
Now,
Just
one
like
of the things that I thought of when you said something, and I'd like you to address this. You said plants carry correction codes for our DNA. Is that correct? Did I hear you correct?
I don't know if I'm quoting him exactly, but he said they found in the plant DNA correction codes, computer correction codes that correct human DNA. And the idea here about the sound is just as you need full spectrum light to be fully functional, you need full spectrum sound to be fully functional and to go toward optimal form and function and be totally healthy. But if we give this information to people, we think we can have a healthier population, but at the same time, we're going to create a problem in that people will live longer, they'll live healthier, there'll be more population. So we need to deal with the idea of going to other planets to live, or even living in the ocean.
But it's my understanding that when you talk to the real scientists, the overpopulation is a myth at the present time, because you could take the entire population of the world and put them in Alaska and they'd each have about an acre of land, something like that. That's what I've read. I can't say I can prove that, but I've heard it from very reliable people that the overpopulation is a myth. It's something that the controllers want because they're selfish and greedy. Back to the question before, real quick, was on the plants. The reason I wanted to bring that up was Native Americans used to say that you should put your saliva on the seeds or on the plant or what have you, and the plant would make something that would be healthy for you by doing so.
That's a wonderful idea. The earth does it now, mainly with tubers. If you grow tubers like carrots or potatoes in your area, it gives you an immune boost.
Wow.
But we've also done Bill Gates' vocal print, and he is into depopulation. He is also on a God trip. A lot of his vocal print is in the God area. There's 6 octaves and 12 notes, and wherever you lay down on that grid tells us something. And most of his stuff is in the God, the omnipotent area. So he's feeling his direction is totally from God, and he's right, and he's going to see that it happens. And he's got the money to do it. Well, there was another one that's similar to that, a Rockefeller. And we've done both of their vocal prints, and we've posted them on our site under profiles. We have hundreds of profiles, from famous people to just people trying to look to see what their perfect partner is. And we teach these classes for free. now have a 2-day class up for finding the perfect mate. We have a 2-day class up for the coronavirus. You can test your voice by going to Sound Health portal, going to campaigns and just saying, I want to check my voice against the corona. We call it corona conflicts. And it'll tell you whether that's in your vocal print or not. We can tell who's had corona. We can tell who's had the shots by the frequencies that are dominant in the voice.
Wow. So are the frequencies, do they become suppressed after the jab?
It looks like they do. It looks like there is an enzyme that's created, and this is not in everybody's, but it's called MMP13, and it's a trauma enzyme, and it eats away the nerves. And so that's in one of the podcasts. We have like 500 or so podcasts teaching people to do this, and they're on Vimeo, and Vimeo's taken some of them down. So we're looking for our own channel. And the other one is on Sound Health portal. There's 50 tutorials or so. So people can do this totally on their own. People say, we don't have money, so we did it for free. We don't have time, so we put it up on the internet 24/7. There's no excuse for the people not having these tools and solutions to keep themselves in optimal shape.
Well, I think one of the problems, and being a former nutritionist working with people, is that everybody would rather just take a pill than have to take the responsibility of making changes. And it's part of the indoctrination, it's part of the mind control programming, but it is definitely something that people need to break through.
Just like that stupid company that tried to get mothers to give their babies milk out of a can because mother's milk was not nutritious enough. How stupid.
Oh, that used to infuriate me. I tell you, I did a master's thesis on maternal nutrition during the childbearing years, which included, lactation. And there were so many doctors that would interfere with a woman's lactation nursing efforts by just saying, oh, just give them, it's not that important. It's not, things of that nature. And they were never sent to like maybe a lactation consultant or someone that might help them have a successful experience that way. But to say that, human milk is not good for humans, come on. That's crazy.
You're out and about. How many overweight kids do you see?
Oh, countless. Absolutely countless.
Because their metabolism have been so adulterated by pop and potato chips and man-made artificial food,
Exactly.
which is devoid of anything supportive of a growing child.
The food has been weaponized against the population, just like medicine has been weaponized against the population. And we're here to change that. I see that you have a program, a nutrition program. I noticed that.
It's called Nutritional Provider, and we give that away free to people in our guest level class. I think it was 30 days. I think it's now like 2 weeks. You can have that absolutely free. And then for, I think it's $19.95 a month, you can have access to that program forever. And you can check your nutrition every day.
How does the program work? Oh my gosh, that's fascinating.
You have a microphone.
What a tool.
You have a microphone. You talk in it for 30 seconds. You save it and say, I want it nutritionally evaluated, and it'll pop you out a report. That's what we teach you in the classes.
I might have to take that class. Maybe I'll take up nutrition again. I kind of gave up on it for a while, I have to tell you.
Advanced courses teach you things like glycine receptors, which is really what glyphosate does. It closes down the receptors. Man-made medicines and foods have a very high molecular weight. Natural things have a very low molecular weight. So here's a receptor on a cell, and along comes glycine and says, can I come in, please? And glyphosate that's already been there says, go away, shut up, I'm here now. I'm taking over. And so the glycine receptors are closed down. And glycine helps detox the body, helps oxygenate the body, helps support so many systems. The glutathione, glutamic acid, it's the same garbage that MSG does, only it's like 1,000 times more detrimental. And B6 is one of the antidotes for it. And with the article that we're just putting out, we're putting out all of the antidotes to the shot, the spike proteins, just like we did for Gardasil. We said, okay, your Gardasil shot, this is what it's going to affect in the body, and this is its antidote. And so we have all the numbers that go with that. People come in and they say, we're having trouble getting pregnant, 30 seconds, and you can see what the issue is. And a lot of times they're messing up your calcium, and that's one of the spike proteins, goes in and messes up the calcium. Another spike protein creates, it's a protein, an anticoagulant, protein 4, and that's what causes some of the clots, along with ACE2. And so if you have that in your chart, and you can watch it begin to grow in the chart, and you can see if you're going to have trouble, because there it is. It's in the chart and you can watch it. But I should tell people, I have a degree in nutrition too, a useless one, but I'm not a medical person.
I can relate to that. Okay. I had to relearn a lot of stuff. Okay. Go on.
When I took nutrition, they said it's all in your food. You don't need vitamins. I mean, it was ancient.
Yeah, what a joke that is. Our soils have been depleted since the 40s of minerals.
Yeah.
For one thing.
The other thing that they give you is a muscle software. And based on what's going on in the body, you can tell what nutrients you need. Like my thumb gets weak, and the thumb muscle responds to zinc. So it's the same frequency. So if I start having trouble opening a jar, I can eat foods with zinc, peanuts and peaches and whatever, or I can take a supplement with zinc in it, and it does the same thing. So the sound or the supplement or the medication, we can derive that from math. And whoever's helping you, these herbs have zinc, this medication has zinc, this food has zinc. However your body wants to receive it, let's do it that way.
That's absolutely fascinating. That really gives people their own personal control over their health, their nutritional health, and whatever else ails them through what they find out through that voice analysis.
That's what we want to provide to the public so everybody can have access. We know absolutely that we can't treat or help everybody. So we are trying to train people and train trainers to set up bioacoustic centers wherever they are so everybody can have access. We started this idea with Parkinson's. We did a big project with Parkinson's and found out that Parkinson's is just a throwaway diagnosis for a lot of things. It can be allergies, it can be nerves, it can be tetanus, it can be B5. We find out what the root cause is of the Parkinson's and start working that way. And we also start with which muscle went first, and we can look at the nutrition that triggered this.
Wow, what a tool. I wish I would have had. Where were you 20 years ago?
I was here, but we didn't have computers. We didn't have enough information.
I know. They had, when I was in college, the computers were so big you couldn't own them. I mean, anyway.
And people would not believe me. People would not believe I could do a sound and stop blood from flowing. They thought I was some kind of nutcase.
Yeah, I bet, because the timing is everything. But the time is now for this kind of thing, because we are moving into the quantum field of healing. And I really think it is the future of medicine and the future of your health, and people can actually take charge of their own health. And that's absolutely critical.
It's energy. I did a big presentation in London to 1,000 doctors. And I said, any of you who do not have an energy body, please leave. and not, and not one of them left. But it's the energy body. It's through the levels of frequency. Low frequency energizes the genetic and magnetic part of the body through the interstitium, that slimy underneath the skin system. And 2 years
Dr.
ago,
Robert O. Young is big on the interstitium. I can hardly say it, but and that needs to remain clean. So, are you able to measure? Are you able to measure that in any capacity, or?
Yes, we have the frequency for it, and we have a way to take a sound, a frequency, and run it through 16 different layers and see where the problem is in the body. That's some of the advanced courses that we teach.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm going to go back to where we were talking about the God gene, because I remember something was said to the effect that white light activates the God gene.
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, you have a frequency and you have an antidote and you have an activator. And the activator is like when you are making bread and you have to give it yeast to activate it rising. Mm-hmm. So there's an activator for each frequency. And what I find absolutely amazing about the God gene, its activator is really adenine triphosphate, ATP, by frequency. And that's what comes together with the sperm and the egg. It's not in the sperm, it's not in the egg, but when they come together, it starts to create ATP, which is the life force energy of the body, and that's in the Krebs cycle. Now, this is the amazing thing about it to me. Most of the leftover ATP is stored in the eyeball. And so when you die, that begins to implode and you see this brilliant bright white light.
Wow. So, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. It implodes when we die and it explodes when we are born initially.
When you're conceived.
When conceived, the sperm and egg do their light thing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating.
And we measure that through a program called methylation mapping. We can tell how much ATP you have and how it's being produced or not being produced. It in turn creates ADP, and that's a secondary layer of what keeps you animated and alive. And we can see it all in the math.
Well, what's amazing is so many people are having problems with mitochondrial dysfunction, which is a direct relationship to their energy level. So what are you finding that's happening in that regard that's causing that?
Well, 5G, for one, and the shots are all attacking people's iron. And without the iron and the ferrochelatase at a muscle level, then people don't stay animated. They stay tired all the time. And mitochondrial syndrome, we have a database for that. So many kids are coming up with that, and I can trace it back to a particular number that's in.
Well, it's very upsetting to me. Everyone seems to be afraid to say that they're against. I'm against. I don't see any benefit to them whatsoever in terms of long-term health, because even if there's some kind of initial boost to the immune system, it's only one small portion of the immune system, and all the other adjuvants and garbage that's in there, in addition, is poison that the body has to get rid of. So,
we've decoded all of that. And when you look at people's issue, even with the spike proteins with corona, the spike protein antidotes are attacking the immune system. So we have about 300 different databases, and one of them's Immune Rise. We can't call it immune system because that's medical. So Immune Rise, and they can run themselves through it and look at it. If you look at fibromyalgia, that's one of the beginnings of this. And fibromyalgia, one of them is too much iron. The body can't process the iron. The other is that it doesn't have enough pyruvic acid to get rid of the lactic acid. And we have the formulas for that. And we have videos showing people in fibromyalgia pain being out of pain. One lady was on TV in Dayton, It took about 4 minutes to get her out of pain. And we have another one that took about 30 minutes, and then a couple more that took 3 days. But we have specialty boxes for people who have fibromyalgia. We test their voice, we see what's wrong with them. We give them this set of frequencies. Now, not everybody can do that because you have high blood pressure for many different reasons, but we've only found fibromyalgia is a problem for 2 reasons. So we're able to make a specialty tone box. The other thing for people with fibromyalgia is something called benfotiamine, benfotiamine, because there are enzymes in trauma to the body that attack the nerves and try to wall off the part of the body that's not working well. And this benfotiamine, especially for people with Parkinson's and fibromyalgia, it's a lipid form of thiamine, and it reestablishes the myelin sheathing on the nerves. It repairs it. And we've been able to show that. The body is just incredibly redundant in what's going on. If you have a muscle that's in stress, it's telling us which nutrient you have in stress. People need this information. We need to write a Bible of, okay, if this happens, do this. And we can do it with all natural stuff, herbs.
So we have an innate ability to heal with the correct tools.
I absolutely think so. And I absolutely think people can do it without anything I'm offering. There's a sound coming out of your ear called the otoacoustic emission. And if you listen to that sound, it's the perfect sound for you every moment. And it reestablishes stasis in your body. We wrote an article. It's got 2 names. One is If You Can Moan, You Can Tone. And the other one is Depending on Alpha Waves for your ears to heal your body. I'll send it to you. Let me write myself.
Oh, please do. But what about those of us who are having hearing loss? How are we going to hear that if we, already have some hearing issues? Which,
this will teach you how to deal with that. It'll tell you that potassium, actin, and myosin 7 are the 3 things that is causing hearing loss in adults today, and unless there's some kind of structure damage.
Mm-hmm. Why is that happening? What is that all about? Where is that coming from?
Too much pollution, too much air pollution, too much radio, too much TV, loud music, horns honking. I was very lucky in that I grew up in Appalachia in a corn crib, no electricity, no water, no extra noises. So I believe my ears develop differently than people who are in the city and have to be bombarded with that all the time. Because if you're living in a city and there's a train going by, pretty soon your brain ignores the sound of the train. And I think we have taught ourselves to ignore sounds that maybe have a curative effect just by living in a very noise polluted environment.
And I think I've heard you say that every person has their own individual toning frequencies that they need that heal them. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It used to be called the signature sound in ancient literature. Now we can measure it. Tomatis out of France measured it. He's dead now, but there's a lot of people following his work, and they're the sound coming out of your ear, and it has harmonics. And those harmonics heal your body if you can tap in to the sound that you really need. And that's what this article about. And it's online everywhere. If you can tone, if you can moan, you can tone.
That's funny. I'm not, it sounds, all this is kind of new to me. Now, what is the difference between harmonics, frequencies, tones, scales, octaves? Could you explain that to me a little bit?
I can't explain it musically. I'm musically just illiterate. So 5 is the note of E at a nutritional level. 10, double that, is the note of E at an emotional level. 20, double that, is another octave, and it's at the structural level. So your body runs on all these different layers and Pythagoras called it harmonics. And by knowing which harmonics are not complete, like a sour note in a song, then we can go in, give you the sound, and let your body do what it needs to do with it. Like an aspirin. You never have to tell an aspirin, oh, it's my tooth that hurts. The aspirin knows where to go in and find a pain receptor and attach to it and help alleviate the perception of pain.
That's fascinating.
And scales, right now they're fighting over, is A440, is A442, is A438. You have to start a scale someplace, and then every other note is mathematically attached to that scale. And if we find out your scale, and a lot of times it matches your birthday, and we can match it with your voice. I believe this was all known in ancient times. When is your birthday?
August 23rd.
So you're a Leo. You're an E. No, you're right past that.
Yeah, I'm on the cusp.
Libra. Yeah.
Virgo, Libra. I have a moon in Libra. The sun is Virgo. Sometimes some people say Leo, so it's like, I don't know what I am.
So E and F, the colors of yellow and green together, or the colors, if you're right brain, it's going to be violet and shades of purple. So you can usually tell, and we have a class about this, you can usually tell your brainedness. It's on Vimeo's, right? How to tell right and left brainedness, because that's really instrumental in knowing which kind of sound formula to give you. But if you know your own, you can sing it, you can play it, you can look at the colors, you can give it yourself the sound.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to do that, because I would like to, I would definitely like to know more about that.
A
Vimeo
Leo,
shut my nice
a
channel
Leo,
down.
Libra, they want everybody to be okay. They'll put themselves out. We have, what do they call it? Flyers. And we sent you one. Mm-hmm. And you're welcome to put it up on your site, that in general terms, and this was part of my original senior project, every sound has a color, an aroma, a perception, a body part, and we sent all of that to you.
I got through most of it, but I didn't get through all of it.
Okay. When we did another project with the speech and hearing department, we were able to tell that giving you back your own sound released energy, sometimes made people cry. We were doing it with the nursing department, speech and hearing, interpersonal communication, and School of Music. We did a project, and we found that by giving people back their own sound or not, we could control their blood pressure in opposing directions by 21 points. We could kill you.
Whoa.
That was one of the first papers we ever published. That was in 1982.
That is amazing. Wow. So, okay, oops. I've got another question for you then. Does food have a frequency that you can actually measure? I was always looking for that for people from a nutritional standpoint to stick with more high frequency foods, which usually are more water-based, usually are more living kind of thing. Do you have a way to check on that?
There is a way to check on that, even with a machine. It's called a kilometer. You put a piece of food in and you see what energy it gives off. We have one upstairs, an antique one, but I can do it with my ears. This talent is what started all of this. I can hear people's sounds. I can hear animal sounds. We were sent a picture of a lady that's in a coma, and they didn't know what was going on with her. And I looked at her and I did her sound. And in the sound, my voice created a picture. And it was a dark spot throughout the spine. And I said, have you checked her for a spinal bleed? And yes, it's there. It was there. And that was the problem. My voice creates pictures. And in some of our articles, they asked me to look out the window and do a sound. And I did. And it was shaped exactly like the top of a church. And they didn't understand why my voice would create a picture. And they said, well, just think of something and do a sound. And so that was a church. And so I thought about church bells. In the vocal print was the church bells. You could see the outline of the church bells. So something about the way I hear, and Tomatis says, Alfred Tomatis says, the way you hear dictates the way you speak. And I think we knew about that in ancient times, so people could actually speak and manifest. But I think we forgot how to do that because we forgot how to hear deep in our brain. And that's what this article, Moan and Tone article, teaches you. And I think that's where healing took place, because we automatically attached to people and we could hear their sounds. I really think privacy is an illusion. People really know. They're just too polite to tell you.
Wow. Is that why when we go out in nature away from all the city sounds and all that kind of thing, that it has a healing effect?
It's back to nature, nature sounds. Absolutely. The body heals itself and perceives itself in analog fashion. What you hear every day is all digital. And analog is woo, and digital is woo, 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 woo. And that difference in sound, that's a sound that will kill a pathogen, but it's on, off, on, off, on, off, and it's a killer sound. We need to live in analog for us to live in a healing environment. And there's a book about this. Jill Madsen wrote a book about the sounds of your environment. I forget the name of the book, but I'll get it to you.
Wow, I'm absolutely fascinated by all this. I'm going to do some studying. Trust me on that. I would like to know more. And
she wrote a book called Lost Waves of Sound, and about all of the different ancient literatures that have come forward and dictated how we used sound to heal in ancient times. Fascinating book. It's Mattsson.
I think we use sounds to be able to move things also.
I think you could do that.
The reason I'm saying that is because remember, if you go to Egypt and you look at all of those huge stone structures and so on, there's no way that a bunch of slaves moved that around. Somebody that I read somewhere said they did it with sound. How they did it with sound, I don't know. But
the Japanese have levitated using sound. So we should go explore more of that.
Oh, that's fascinating. Back on the thing about the white light activation, someone asked me to ask you, what's the difference between, or is there a difference between white light or golden light? And is one better than the other?
Golden light would be D sharp. White light would be the note right between C and B. So halfway between the octaves. But people have asked me, what do we do about this? White light will divide all the other lights down into their component parts. And the same way, if you got stuff coming at you and you hit it back with white light, then it'll disperse it. But we must have some kind of way to combat this corona. I believe this corona is a bioweapon.
Yes,
and the fact that they have to give you marijuana, free marijuana in Washington state if you take the shot. In Ohio, in our state, we'll put you in $1 million lottery if you'll take the shot. There's got to be something wrong with it for them to push it that hard.
Oh, yes, they are. Free meals. I've seen that for the homeless. Free meal if you take the jab. Free. Here's the latest one. They're giving away, they're telling prisoners if they take the shot, they'll cut their time in half. This is evil. This is just pure evil.
It's going to come that this is the way that you're controlling people. I'm going to move this sound toward you, and make you sick if you don't do what I tell you. And I believe that we can see people's perspectives from their vocal print. I believe it's going to come out that the Biden administration, through Kamala Harris, is going to offer the president millions of dollars if they'll give Biden and Harris back a little kickback and give a few dollars to their people, when they're trying to convince us that Guatemala is, as a state, is a problem and we have to fix it and we have to pay for it. That's the same thing Hunter and Joe Biden were doing with Afghanistan and China. We will give you this money if you do this. It's just pure bribery. Tell me why the American people must pay to clean up another country. I've looked at this through the years, and when you look at Obama's vocal prints indicate that he thinks the American people are at fault for the world's ills, and the American people should pay. We've had it good all along. Now we need to pay for others. And if you look at Soros, he thinks America, the country, should be liable for all the world's ills. So you got Obama and Soros together saying we must go pay to clean up and support Guatemala or wherever they're going. We, the American people, through our taxes, I can hear the conversation with Kamala Harris. What if we could sucker the Americans to have to pay to clean up your country? If we give you all that money, you think you could kick us back a little? It's going to happen. It's going to come out that they're going to offer money, American taxpayer money, to clean up other countries that we had no part in destroying.
You know, they talk about America having it so good. The fact is that most Americans that I know have worked very hard all their life, sometimes in more than one job. It wasn't like things were just handed to them on a silver platter.
Clean up America first.
Exactly.
Take care of our soldiers, our homeless, our children. This reparation garbage, it's, let's say your father was a murderer and he got 50 years in jail and he only served 25 years. They come after you to serve the other 25 because you're the daughter. That's what reparation is like, and it's stupid and silly.
And it's an outrage, and it's unnecessary. And look at how our streets look in California now.
And Portland and Seattle.
And all over the place. It's a shame. And we're going to go give money overseas to some other place when we don't even clean up our own backyard.
There are trillions in the budget for us to give away when we can't feed our own families.
The trouble is, this is what the Congress does. They say they're giving it away to another country, but actually they're giving it to themselves and their own family through nefarious means that appear to be like they're giving it to another country. They're literally giving it to themselves indirectly.
And their friends.
And their
Look
friends.
at Solyndra.
Exactly.
That's what Obama was doing. That lasted, 2 or 3 years, that solar thing? Millions, trillions of dollars to Solyndra. And then it bankrupts. Where did all that money go?
Yeah, just like I'm wondering, where's all the money going that they say that they're confiscating for people that are known to be involved with human and child trafficking? Where is all that gone? Where did all the gold that they supposedly got out of the Vatican, where is all that gone? Nobody on this planet should be poor.
That's true. And we did a project in 2008 for the government, the Army, and it was about testing soldiers who got hit with acoustic blasts.
Oh, yes.
And did they have brain damage? And we were looking at that. And we did the project. We turned everything in. They refused to pay us because they said, sequestration, we don't have the money. So we did all the work. We didn't get paid. And we did another project for them, stupidly, where they put all soldiers in a closed off room, gas them, make them take off their gas mask, and see who survives. So they would know who they could send into a gas-ridden place, community, house. And we figured out what the frequency was, and it got turned over to MIT. Well, I suppose it did because they're now working on vocal analysis in their Lincoln lab. I don't know how much of the projects we turned in got turned over to other people. I do know that 5 different companies have filed patents on what I do. And what I said in the beginning, I'm going to keep this free for the people. And there's been companies contact me and say, please help us with these coronaviruses. I said, no, you're going to gouge people with it. And you filed patents, and I'm giving it all the way free. So you make nothing and the people can get healthy. So there.
Good for you. Thank you. Thank you for your service to humanity. We need more people like you. And that's wonderful, Sharry. I'm just, that's absolutely wonderful. Let's see, where else can we go here?
Can I tell a little short story?
Please do. Please do.
I recently had a car accident. The steering went out of the car and it drove me up an embankment and flipped the car. And I got a concussion out of it. And people said to me, they're controlling your car. They're making you drive into embankments and whatever. Well, my car was a 98. There was no electronics in there that anybody, my car is 20-some years old.
Mm-hmm.
So
like
there's no way they could be controlling it. But I am on the lookout and looking at my own voice every day to see if I'm being bombarded. I think that's some of smart meters. And we have a computer program called Gravity. And both are messing up your iron. Just like the earth has a liquid core of iron, and it must stay balanced or we're going to be off kilter, tilted. I think in your atoms, in your cells, you also have that core, and it's messing up people's critochrome, their ability to know what direction they're going, their ability to be in touch with each other is something along the lines of the God gene. It puts back the empathy and the bonding between people, and that's available on our site.
And that's called, what is that called? Gravity?
Just Gravity.
Okay. Fascinating.
So people can test themselves.
Wow. Now I live in an apartment building, okay, unfortunately. And just underneath me, there's about 4 smart meters. And that concerns me a great deal. I had bought a cover for a smart meter when I was somewhere else, but I can't even reach these meters, and there's 4 of them, and I'm sure that the apartment building would have fits about it. But these smart meters are very problematic too. Have you seen any of the frequencies from them, or seen the effects that they have on people?
I have, and the effect is it messes up the ability to balance their minerals. So if you'll test your voice about your minerals, and you can do that with a free program, Nutritional Provider, and make sure you have enough minerals, make sure you're eating whole foods, run white light, burn a candle. A candle is almost the same frequency as white light: fire, earth, air, and water. So you can spritz with water and take the frequencies out of the air. You can burn a candle. You can have potted plants and dirt, or you can have a fan. I use a fan, even though I'm a water sign. And when I'm working with other people and I begin to pick up their energy, I just spritz the room with water. But I use a fan to change the energy in the room all the time and to get rid of mold.
Wow, fascinating. That's I'm going to have to look into that, because I have those issues around here. I don't know if we have 5G in this town or not, but I was told that someone put a tower up on some building at some plaza in this area, and that it is putting off bad frequencies. So
it really messes up the iron. In August of 2019, we put out an article in Nexus magazine showing what 5G does to the body.
Oh, it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And that's how they intend to control the people that they have managed to take the jab. I just, I'm waiting for the truth to come out on all of that. What's taking so long?
Because they're protecting people like Fauci. We put it out 2 years ago that he had a hidden agenda, and it was very personal, and it was about money. And he sat in Congress and said to Rand Paul, the NIH did not directly support any gain of function.
It's a lie.
Rand Paul had the papers in front of him showing that Fauci, who's associated with NIH's virology and allergies, had given himself money through his Echo Lab. And the Echo Lab gave money to the Wuhan lab. And he said, oh, it was a pittance, $600,000. So Fauci directly supported gain of function for the coronavirus. Why he is not in jail is beyond me.
Me too. I guess they arrested Birx, and they're looking for Fauci. I think he's on the run. I can't say that for sure, but that's what I've heard.
I can't even fathom taking money to make somebody sick. That is so evil.
It is, and look.
We would not
look at what they've done to children in India.
Yeah, we wouldn't think
vaccines.
humans would do that to each other. We wouldn't think that humans would molest a baby, a tiny baby, and think that they gave themselves good feelings. We have decoded adrenochrome, so we know what they're going for in these babies. If you scare the baby and make it really afraid, it creates a lot of adrenochrome. And that's what they're looking for, to keep themselves young. From what I've read, I've never been associated with anybody who drank children's blood to test it out. We do not have a clean lab here, which means we don't have a sanctioned lab with all the precaution and doctors. We just can't afford it. We scrape by on a shoestring every month trying to make ends meet. And our issue about our lab is we're looking for data. If you get well, that's your problem.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. The world we live in, I'm waiting for things to improve and for the truth to come out. And it seems like it's starting to come out more and more. And it's going to be extremely shocking to people.
Some really brave people. Look at Mike Lindell, the pillow guy.
Yes.
He is the sacrificial lamb out there. I tested his voice and everybody that was in his...
I didn't get a chance to see that. Tell us about it.
It's a video called Absolute Proof.
And I've seen that.
He has the records showing how the election was stolen, and he has the IP addresses, and he knows who in Washington is involved. But he's been put out there as the sacrificial lamb so people can attack him, so they're not going to be listening to what's really going on behind the scenes. And people are upset because Trump is standing back and not really doing anything. But it makes me think there's something else going on. I don't think it's irretrievable. I don't think right now they could take Biden out of office and put Trump in. I don't think they could possibly happen. But when you look at Biden's voice, in the beginning, he had vascular dementia. They've taken that away. But I looked at his voice right after the shot, the supposed shot. It looks like it's not shown in his voice that he got the shot at all. It's shown that he got some kind of vaccine because he has a hematogluten and neuraminase in his voice, and that's from the kids' vaccine. Harris is the one that has the spike proteins. So I think she got the real stuff. But they're trying to control Harris and trying to support Biden. And I do not understand why. Where is that going? But we can follow it through the Vocoprint of knowing what's real. And we can follow everybody like that who's in order, who's in charge. And we are You remember, you know, the movie coming out, Cruella DeVille?
Oh, with the Sound of Freedom?
She was in 101 Dalmatians, and she was going to kill all the Dalmatian puppies to make herself a coat.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
That describes Kamala Harris's personality. She is into control. She doesn't like it when she doesn't have control of everything physical. I think she would make a very bad president. It's like when she was saying, we know who you Trump supporters are, and we're coming after you, and we're going to take your gun, and if you don't give it to us, we're taking it. That's the kind of leader she would be, and I think people know America would be deeper in hell in a handbasket with her.
Yes. Is she a she or is she a man? I've seen. I don't know if you can tell that with your profiling, but
I didn't look at her hormones, so I don't know. I did look at Michelle Obama's hormones, and there's some artificial hormones there, so I don't really know what's going on.
Okay, well, there's definitely rumors to that effect on both parts, but the 528 frequency, they call that the love frequency. Is that true?
That's Horowitz's frequency, and it's actually a frequency of vasopressin, which goes high. Yeah, it goes high when you're in love, and that's likely why they're calling it the love frequency. But it would probably be dangerous to play that for a long time. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I'm not allowed to give advice. But vasopressin, if your sugar goes up, vasopressin goes up to control your sugar. Or if your blood pressure is too high, vasopressin will try to control it.
So if music is good to be played, it is best for it to be played at 432. Is that correct?
I believe so, because everything in the 432 octaves divides by 9. Any frequency in that scale divides by 9. And it's the Pythagorean scale, and he was the originator of music scales. They used to think that everything was elliptical. Here's the earth, and everything is exactly elliptical. And that's what Pythagoras used to make scales. Then Kepler came along and used the scales in orbits. So the farthest point from the sun was one frequency, and then the next farthest point from the sun. And I believe the original ones that are elliptical is for our body, and the ones are the rounds for our body, and the elliptical ones are for our biochemistry. It's all based on a scale: 1 9/8, 5 4s, 4 3rds, 3 2s, 5 8s, and I think 15 thirds. I can't remember the last one. But one of them is based on add and subtract, Pythagorean, and the Kepler scale is based on multiply and divide. And we use 2 different scales depending on what we want to do with your body.
Wow, that's fascinating. Well,
I think math.
It's just math. I should have taken more math in my background. But it's simple math, isn't it? It's not like algebraic math. It's just
absolutely
adding.
Not. And we do it all for you behind the scenes. We give you the frequencies that should be used for your body. We just have to teach you how to use them. And that's what we do in class. You don't have to be anybody medical. We have belly dancers. We have high school kids. We have a lot of different people that take the classes. You just need to know how to add and subtract. A little bit of
I could do that.
A little bit of multiplication and you'll be fine.
Okay. Well, no, I've done it. You get used to using a calculator, and yes. I don't know if that's beneficial or not. But anyway.
And a lot of our classes are online 24/7, so you can take them on your own time.
That's awesome.
Or you can take them live with the teacher.
Uh-huh. Oh, awesome. Well, I'm thinking that if you would be open to it, we could do another show and have it alive and have people ask questions. Would that be okay with you?
We could try that.
I'm not that skilled at it. I've just started doing that. It would be like the second or third time. But I think I think people will be absolutely fascinated with what you have to say, your information, and your willingness to share so many things free is unprecedented. Most people are in it for the money, unfortunately.
Well, people say, if it's free, I had somebody say, it's free, how good is it? And I said, humanity's at stake here. Somebody needs to get up off the information and share it. And that's what we want to do.
Thank you, Sharry. You're absolutely right. I agree 110%. And thank you for all that you do. And I think we should come to a close now, and we will come back again. I know that my listening audience will love what you have to say. Thank you for your service to humanity. And thank you for sharing.
Great to be able to share. We will send you the links to this material.
Awesome. And I'll be in touch. And
wonderful.
Thank you again.
This program is not intended to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure any disease and should not be considered medical advice. The statements herein have not been evaluated by the FDA. The opinions expressed are those of the guests and not necessarily the opinions of Free Range, its producers, principals, or staff. Viewers are directed to consult professional sources before acting on any information presented here.